I guess the beauty about Housing First is that, we're not really confined by a lot of barriers that our current systems have. You don't have to prove that you're unwell or that you have an addiction, You just have to have the need for support for housing. And regardless of whatever background they come from, whatever challenges they face in life, we can work with them. We can sit down with them and say, what support do you need? And how can we help you achieve the things that you want to achieve? I think that's the beauty of Housing First. It's about creating options for people and giving them the opportunities to the best that we can.
Easy access, and also they receive the support, when we house them. So I think that's why it will work.
It's just opened things up, and so our service is broader. We can get out there, definitely do things that we wouldn't be doing before. Approaching people in the community, talking with them, speaking with them, offering our services. So yes, it's been really great. This Housing First initiative, awesome.
Well, every person should be housed, because if you're dealing with homelessness, if you're dealing with lying in the streets and then trying to find your next meal and trying to find cover and shelter and things like that, and living a pretty disposable life, then if you're housed, at least you'll have the opportunity to explore those other things that are around you, to find that safety within that house, to actually be able to deal with any issues they may have, whether it's mental health, addictions, or just relationship sort of issues. I think being in a stable environment is a good start of that journey, because you cannot do it when you're fighting to survive.
This model is going to enable us to actually support people into housing and stay in housing. And the whole premise of Housing First is that we work with people on what is their choice, what do they want, where do they want to live, what kind of place do they want to live in, and we immediately find what they want as closely as we can and help them get into a house, and then provide wraparound support. And we know that some of the really key issues for people that causes them to fall out of tenancies, for tenancies not to succeed. We've done a lot of interviewing, a lot of work with people, and we've been working with this group of people really intensively anyway. But the Housing First program is a much more focused way of working, and I think it's going to be much more effective than how we have worked traditionally. We're not going to get so caught up in the crisis of what's happening for people when they're living on the street. We're going to focus our energy and our resources on getting people straight into housing, and then supporting them to stay in the housing, to live well, to work towards whatever goals they want to work towards, to integrate into the community, and to move towards well-being.
I think the biggest difference is that people are going to be supported, less judgment. I think it's going to be more comfortable, but that's what people want, don't they? They want the services that they're offered, they want the help, without feeling that they have to grovel for it.
Well, for me, it's about not just finding that home for somebody, it's around the supports. So in West Auckland, homelessness looks like people living in cars, caravan parks, overcrowding, and some of those people have been really long-term homeless, so for years and years in and out of homelessness. And we know that just popping somebody in a home is not going to perhaps answer some of those bigger issues sitting behind what's caused them to be homeless. So we know putting somebody straight into a home with the right supports enables change to happen in their lives. And we've seen it with people that we've worked with over the years, where they've been long-term homeless and we've put that support around them. And we've seen actually generational change happen, where families are now housed for years, their children have been going to school and have moved on to further education, people have gone into employment. So this is transformational change, but it started because we were able to get them into a home and the right supports around them, and really build up a trusting relationship with them. So their big story started to unfold. What was it? And often it was things years and years, often even as a child, that kind of trauma that happened that then carried on through their lives. And and we were able to sort of help them unpack some of that, and so see big change happen. So, you know, being able to have this contract with Housing First, it means we're going to be able to do more of this kind of work. We've been doing it for a while, but with limited funding, and this is going to enable us to do more of that. And we've got about 150 people ringing us or walking in every month, and some of those people have been long-term homeless. So we're now going to be able to put that in intensive support around them and get them into their homes. Yeah, we're excited about that.
The power of doing this as a collective, because the systemic change that needs to happen is that when these voices join together, the power of those really strong, clear messages and voices in the wilderness are the messages that will shift our country and our society so that there really is sustained and effective change.
I think the first and foremost difference is that we are giving them the home first. So whereas there have been barriers with our homeless people initially just connecting with someone and then having to go through all the bureaucracy of going to WINS and finding support and dealing with a lot of the other issues that come with being homelessness, we're going to bypass those straight into a home first and foremost, and then put in the wraparound support for all of the needs that they're wanting some support for.
The strong basis that's in Housing First of self-determination, that people have their own path, their own journey, and we provide the support. So that right to autonomy, that right to determine what they want to be doing at the pace they want to be doing and how they want to be doing it, means that the outcomes, the success is likely to be far more genuine, far richer, far more exciting, and so love it.
Housing First's approach to really putting the whānau, our people out there, those chronically homeless, really putting them at the forefront of what we're trying to do, and actually listening to what they need and not what we think they need. So I love that about it, actually getting in there and being part, really making those connections, which has been so missed. Really making some connections with them is what's going to really make a really impactful effect within our society, within Auckland and up and down the country.